All right. Could you discuss ways to treat broken or fractured bones without having to rely on a hospital? That's a good question. The reason I think that's a good question is, first of all, it's a very relevant and timely question because, many of us, I would put myself in this category, may be shut out of going to the quote normal hospitals, which is actually kind of a blessing, because why would you do that in the first place? But sometimes that seems like something that you might want to do. Like if you have something impaled in your body or in your eye, or possibly, and maybe even probably, a broken leg. And so I would have to admit that unless we develop alternative strategies for dealing with this, we're at a bit of a loss. So that is a gap which somebody, somehow, some of us are going to have to try to fill. The only thing I'll say about that is I don't have much experience with this, but there's two things that I know about. One is that we are basically congealed or low vibration sound. And the reason that that's important is because you can diagnose a broken bone by putting a tuning fork, and when you hear the change in the sound, of which I am not an expert in, and I don't have the technical skill to do that, but I have heard very clearly that it can be done. You can tell that the bone is broken. It's also become very clear to me, even though I don't have the frequencies or the technique, so it's a bit of a hypothesis, but I have reasonable reason to believe that they used to be able to heal bones much faster by various sound frequencies, either by chanting or maybe tuning forks or earth vibrations or something. And so I know that that technology and that way of doing things exists, but I don't know the details. So that's something that somebody needs to look into. And so it needs to be something that in any community, if you have a broken bone, somebody knows or has the tuning fork or the sound frequency or the chanting choir, or I don't know what it is exactly. And they can diagnose it without an x-ray and heal it in a much better and shorter time. The only other thing that I have known about and actually have done to a certain extent with some very minor fractures is there's an herb called knit bone, otherwise known as comfrey. And you basically grind up comfrey with a little bit of water. It grows in most people's gardens, or a lot of people's gardens. And you put that as a poultice over the fracture, and it will stimulate healing, which is why they ended up calling it knit bone. Now, I don't know all the details about that, but I've actually seen that happen, again, with minor fractures, and I don't know how bad it would work or not work, how bad a fracture. But that's another avenue to explore, and I'm sure they could be done together. So the reason for that is comfrey, otherwise known as symphytum, is one of the highest plants in organic silica. And silica is what essentially is the scaffolding of the tissue. So the scaffolding is, the bone is not calcium and minerals like we're told. It's a protein silica matrix, and that is what is fractured. So if you add silica in the form of comfrey or equisetum or even bone broth, that will help stimulate the healing in a much better way. I'm sure taking vitamin C has an effect on that, because that also helps wound healing. But my main point is, the reason that's a great question is it's a need that we have that we don't have filled, and we need to be able to do that to get out of the matrix.